You're listening to Community Heroes podcast featuring people sharing about their stories with their disabilities. And now for your hosts, Brandon and Pate. Welcome back to Community Heroes podcast. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Alabama Crimson Tide's head wheelchair basketball coach, Coach Ryan Haynes. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college wheelchair basketball?
Yeah, so I came to the University of Alabama in 2009 as a student athlete, and then I graduated in 2013. I actually graduated with my degree in elementary education, and I taught in the Tuscaloosa area for a couple of years. And obviously, I've always had a love for basketball, being a student athlete here, a love for this program at Alabama. So really, the only thing I would have considered even leaving the teaching profession, which I love, would be for this program and to get back involved in basketball. And that opportunity presented itself after I taught for a couple years in the system here to be the men's assistant coach. And so I kind of jumped at that opportunity, got involved with them for 2 years. And then I've been the women's head coach now for 5 seasons. So that's how I got involved in coaching. It's been a blessing for me, definitely.
Of course, what is your disability and how does it define you?
So I had, when I was younger, like 3 to 5, I had cancer, neuroblastoma. I went through chemo. I went through a surgery to remove as much of the tumor as they could, and then radiation, all that stuff. And then they were only able to remove so much of the tumor just because of its location around some organs and whatnot in my abdomen area. And so when I went into remission, I was fine. I was able to play stand-up sports and everything like that. But then when I was 14, the tumor actually was growing with me and it compressed on my spinal cord. So I suffered an incomplete spinal cord injury. So that's how I got involved into adapted sports, was at the age of 14.
How is it like obviously getting into adaptive sports and going to Alabama to play on the wheelchair basketball program?
Yeah, so when I was injured in 2005, I didn't know a lot about adapted sports. I didn't know a ton about wheelchair basketball. I had probably seen it, on TV or some clips online, but I got introduced to the sport luckily while I was in rehab, actually at Children's Hospital in Milwaukee. And I kind of fell in love with the sport of wheelchair basketball right away and found out about college opportunities, and I decided, hey, this is something that I can use to get an education at the next level. And found out about Alabama. Was blessed enough to come here, and it's obviously pretty awesome because I've stayed around since 2009. So yeah, that's how I got involved in adapted sports and at the University of Alabama.
As a player, what was it like competing for the national championship for wheelchair basketball?
Yeah, I think that's your goal. That's what you shoot for every season, is to at least compete for a championship. And coming in 2009, we were still a relatively young program on the men's side. We had only been around for, I think, about 4 seasons at that time. So, getting to build a program really in its early stages for me was helpful now as a coach, getting to see what it takes to build a championship program, what it takes to build that championship culture. And yeah, it's an awesome feeling getting to play for a championship, and ending up winning one in 2013 was an amazing feeling. Going out there with an awesome group of guys, and yeah, ending the year on a high note obviously was amazing. It's really hard to put into words.
How's the transition like from you from going from being a wheelchair basketball player to coaching at your alma mater and becoming the head coach?
Yeah, it's definitely different, right? The dynamic's different, going from peer to peer now to coach to player. So that's different. It's the transitions. It's something new, but it's still being involved in basketball. So I knew it was going to be fun. I knew it was going to be a challenge. And for me, my biggest challenge going from being a player to a coach, and I think it's it's pretty common for a lot of young coaches is just finding your coaching voice, finding out what works for you. And I know for me, it definitely took some time to find my coaching voice, and it helps that I came into the men's team as an assistant coach. It kind of allowed me to develop a lot, and it allowed me to find my voice. And then now I'm in my fifth season as the women's head coach, and it's been a blessing for sure. And I'm really lucky to be where I'm at, and get to work with an awesome group of girls every day, and create a family environment, and truly care about all my players. So it's really awesome.
For our listeners that don't know, what is wheelchair basketball and how do you play it?
So wheelchair basketball, I tell people that maybe haven't seen it before, is a lot like it's basketball, but it's also like a combination basketball with a little bit of football. There's more allowed contact in our sport than there is in stand-up basketball. Um, Obviously, the biggest difference is you're playing in a chair. We have a classification system in our sport, that's dependent on your injury level. So you can only have 14 points on the floor at a time in the college division. A couple other rule changes, differences is traveling is different. You get two dribbles for every push. I'm sorry, you get two pushes for every dribble. There's no double dribbling. And then just some of the fouls are a little bit different. There's some chair contact fouls. But like I said, there's a lot more contact just allowed in our sport. But I always tell people, if you like basketball, you're going to love wheelchair basketball, because it's a lot of fun. And usually if somebody comes to a high level wheelchair basketball game, they're going to come back and want to see it again. And that's that's one of my goals here, is to get more people exposed to the sport, and create that love for wheelchair basketball that I have in the community as well.
How do you describe your coaching style?
Um, I would say that I'm a player coach. I never think that I'm perfect. So I appreciate a conversation with players. I'll talk to them. Hey, what did you think worked on that possession, or what didn't you think worked on that possession? And we'll talk about it, and we'll come up with a solution that's going to work for the good of the team moving forward. So I think having a team first mentality is huge, and I think that starts with me. I I say all the time that I'm not perfect. Sometimes I'll make a decision that might not be right. So I'm big enough to say that if I was wrong or not. Um, but I would say that my coaching style is one where uh, not afraid to make changes and develop based on the team that I have. Like, I'm not going to run necessarily the same offense. I'm not going to press if I don't have a team that I think can press. So I think being able to adapt to the team that you have is huge for coaches, not trying to do something that worked last year and you have a completely different roster and that might not work this year. So being able to change, being big enough to change, and listening to your players, I think, is huge, especially nowadays. It's really important that your players are heard, that they're listened to, and that you're doing what's best for your team.
How have you been able to help your team and be able to connect with your team, being being from the alma mater and also playing wheelchair basketball?
I think, I don't think it's necessarily necessary to be a former player and be a coach, but I do think, coming from being a player at this program now to coaching at this program, I think it does help relate to players. Like, hey, I'm not asking you to do anything that I haven't done before. And I think that helps create a little bit of buy-in initially. And I think relationship building is a massive part of being a successful coach. And I put a lot of time into trying to connect with my players. It's so fun, and that's one of the best parts about being in a team sport is you have all sorts of different personalities, all sorts of different people, different cultures coming from different places, and trying to bring all of that together and get the best out of your specific group. So it's always a fun challenge every year, and a big part of it for me is just trying to find some way to connect with each player individually and make sure that we're treating everybody fair, but not necessarily equal, because sometimes people react differently to different things. And and need something that somebody else might not need. But just making sure at the end of the day, everybody's being treated the right way and being treated fairly as well.
What do you look at in those prospective wheelchair basketball athletes that are looking to play on the college level?
Yeah, so I've had a lot of especially younger girls ask that question. Hey, like what are coaches looking for? And I think, at any university, you have to look at it from a student athlete perspective. So there's really three things that I look for. Is the person going to be a good fit for our program character wise? Are you a good person? Like that's a number one. That's the first thing that I look for. Are you going to be a good character fit for our program? And if the answer is no to that question, usually it's not going to move forward to the second thing. And then the second thing that I look for is academics. Coaching at a college level is fun because academics is a huge role in that. And ideally, everybody leaves here with a degree and then can get into the workforce after their basketball career is over. So academics is the second thing I look for. Can you get accepted into the university? Academically, are you going to be successful here? Do we have the program you want to study? And again, if that doesn't move, then we don't go to check number three, which for me, the third thing I look for is athletics, right? Do you have the potential to be a impactful player for our program? And do you have the skill to develop and produce and be a good addition to our team as far as basketball is concerned? So again, the three areas I look for: character, academics, and then basketball is third.
What's it been like, obviously, as a head coach, building that championship program and building the championship program into national championship contenders?
Yeah, I think like I mentioned earlier, you really have to look at it from a season to season basis. And that's the fun part about college sports is you only have these athletes for so long before they graduate, and then you're bringing in a new group. So your team is, even though you might have some years where you have people that come in the same year and have them for a few, every year your team is going to be different. So I think the biggest thing is early on, building a good family culture. That's the biggest thing for me is we are a family. Like we're going to have disagreements. We're going to have things that we, maybe don't see eye to eye on. And that's the same case in a family, but at the end of the day, we love and care about each other. So creating that family environment, that family culture. And then I think once you create that with your first group, it's easier to create with every year after that because you have people that have been around it and know what it takes to create that, know what it takes to be successful and to compete for a championship. So I think creating a good championship culture, a good family culture, just starts from day one. And it's something that you don't just set and forget. Like you have to keep working on it day after day after day, just like we work every day in practice on getting better. We've got to work on building our culture and having the right environment here for our athletes.
During your time as a head coach, what has it been like, obviously, having that championship culture and going to 4 national championships?
Yeah, so I've been really blessed with a talented group of girls and been lucky enough to bring in some really talented girls and girls that want to produce on the highest level and want to be the best players that they can be. So it's been an amazing experience for me to get to work with just really talented people, but really good people at the same time and get to know them not only on the court but off the court. And like I said, we really are one family, and I try to stay in touch with even the girls that graduate and see them working, and some of them continuing to play ball overseas professionally. So it's really awesome for me to just get to create a second family here and people that I'll stay in touch with, even after they graduate and move on to bigger and better things. But yeah, it's fun to compete for a championship, and that's our goal every year is to compete for a championship. But it takes a lot of hard work, and we know that, and we're willing to put in the work.
As a head coach, what is it like, obviously, seeing your players go on after college and go play professionally and even go into the corporate world, whether they're doctors, nurses, or even teachers?
Yeah. So again, basketball is just a small part of what we do as college coaches and college athletes. Because ideally, I want to put our student athletes in a position when they graduate to yes, go on and be able to play basketball for a long time, but at some point basketball is going to end for everybody. It's, it's just a part of it, right? So put them in a position to get a degree, put them in a position to be ready to be productive members of society outside of basketball. And that's the amazing part of getting to coach at the college level is I have a big role in that. And that's something I take very seriously. And academics is super important for me. So getting to see players go play for their national teams is amazing. Getting to see players play in Germany or, in other leagues overseas professionally is amazing. But getting to see them also get a degree, move into the workplace and start their lives elsewhere and start families down the line is amazing. And it's something that I take to heart and something that I take really seriously. And again, that's an amazing part of getting to be a college coach is getting to build that relationship and see them blossom outside of the sport as well.
How has it been like, obviously, as a head coach, getting to coach those Paralympians on your team, such as Bailey Moody?
Yeah, it's amazing. Like I said, I've been really lucky and blessed to have some super talented basketball players here and girls that have played for their national team. Like this year, we have four girls that represent Team USA. Got a girl from GB and then a girl from France. So, and then I've had players that still play for their national team. So it's amazing. Like I said, I know the amount of work it takes to play the sport at the college level, the amount of work it takes to play the sport at the national team level, and like I said, they're willing to put in the work, and their goal is to be the best player that they can be. And any small part I can play in that is amazing for me, and to get to see it every day. Yeah, it's just an awesome group. I've been blessed with a lot of awesome people and players that have come through this program.
What has it been like, obviously, seeing those players perform on the Paralympic level and live out their dreams?
Yeah, it's crazy because that's a lot of people's goals is to play for their national team, to medal at a Paralympic Games, medal at Worlds, and like I said, I've been lucky enough to have some of my athletes, come from Tokyo, like Bailey Moody you spoke of earlier, her, Lindsay Zerbrug, Abby Bollicky. They came back, 2 years ago from Tokyo, and they came back with a bronze medal. And just getting to watch that whole process play out and knowing the amount of work that they put in to get that done was an amazing feeling. And I've had other athletes medal at different, world events or different Paralympic games, and seeing them get medals, seeing them represent their country. It gives me joy, just knowing that, again, I'm a small part in their athletic careers. And it's something that I know they work really hard for. So it's really awesome to see them get to play at the highest level, representing their country, and hopefully doing well.
What are some of your future plans for the Alabama wheelchair basketball program?
I think as far as our just overall mission for our program, I want to make sure, and we want to make sure that we give our athletes the same experience that any other athlete on campus has. And I think we've taken a lot of steps towards that, but it's something that we continue to work for every day. But as far as my team specifically with the women, right now we're focused on this year. I have some future plans obviously, but right now we're focused on this team this season, and our goal, like I said before, is to compete for a championship. And I think we have all of the pieces to do it. We have a ton of talent, and the girls are really coming together well. And I'm just excited to keep growing every day and getting better. And hopefully by the end of the season, we'll be playing our best basketball. That's our goal.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to get into able-bodied sports and perform on the college level in sports like wheelchair basketball?
I would say, wheelchair basketball, just like any other sport, it's just going to take a lot of work. And if you want to, move up a level, it's going to take that much more work. So if you're looking at coming from high school sports to playing in college, just know it's going to take a lot more commitment individually from you to improve your game. And then if you're looking at being just a player on the team to maybe a starter on the team or an impact player on the team, it's just going to keep increasing. So I would say not being afraid to put in the work, but also know that it's going to take a lot of work and it's going to take a lot of commitment on your part. But at the end of the day, the reward is playing well, seeing the results of your work individually and as a team. So not to be surprised, it's going to take work, but also not be afraid of the work, and the results are the reward.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to go represent the country, whether it's US or Canada, on the Paralympic level?
Like I said, it's every level the amount of work and the amount of commitment goes up. But I think now I'm involved as an assistant coach on the women's US team, so I think it's just an honor, like, to represent your country in any way. As a player, obviously, would be a massive honor. So yeah, it's going to take work, but you get to be considered one of the best in your nation, and you get to represent your country. And a lot of people look up to you, and you can set a good example for some younger girls and younger guys out there, that, hey, this is something that's possible. It just takes a lot of work. And you get to, like I said, you get to represent your country. No better feeling than that.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to get into coaching on the adaptive sports level?
I would say that's an amazing thing to want to get into. I think it's something that we need more people in the adapted sports world, and more people that know about the game of wheelchair basketball, are willing to pass their knowledge along to that next generation. And hopefully that just keeps building the coaching pool moving forward. But again, the biggest thing I would say to anybody who wants to get into coaching is just make sure that you have the right intentions. Make sure that your number one goal is always what's best for the athlete. And a big part of that, in my opinion, is making sure that they know that you care for them, making sure that they know you love them, and want what's best for them on and off the court.
Where can our listeners find you at on social media, along with the Alabama wheelchair basketball program at?
Yeah, so mine is Ryan Haynes. I'm a little old school. I still have a Facebook and Instagram. Coach Haynes 32 on Instagram. And then Alabama Adapted is on, and Alabama Women's Wheelchair Basketball, we're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. I believe we also have a TikTok account. That's not my specialty, but I think we have one of those as well. And then bamaadapted.com is where you can find our schedule and some more information about our program and our staff here as well.
Thank you again, Ryan Haynes, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as the head coach for the wheelchair basketball program at Alabama Crimson Tide.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Roll Tide.
You can find Community Heroes on Facebook at Community Heroes, Instagram at com_NC, Twitter at com_heroes, and you can find us on YouTube at officially Community Heroes. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Ryan Haynes, for your interview, and best of luck in your future at Alabama.
Thank you.
You are watching Community Heroes. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Community Heroes on social media and on YouTube.